Dear Heavenly Father, Creator of all things, we come to you this morning. We're just thankful for all the blessings you've given each and every one of us this morning, Lord. We just thank you for the blessings you've given our people, Lord. I just pray that you would continue to bless us in the ways that we ask, Lord. I just thank you for all the friends and relatives that we have today, Lord. Just help us to appreciate them and all the ways that we can, Lord. Just thank you for our people. Just there's people in need this morning, Lord. I just pray that you will be with them, comfort them, fill our hearts with joy and love, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Kelly, would you do the roll call, please?
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Chris Stokes.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker. Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Coates. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden. Jody Fishinghawk.
Here.
Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Hannah Glory Jordan.
Present.
Curtis Canal. David Thornton. Kara Callan Watt.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a quorum this morning, so I'm going to move on down the line here fairly quickly. I'd like to, everybody's had a chance to read the minutes of the July the 15th regular session and the July 15th subcommittee. I hear a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to be approved.
Second.
Have a motion to approve in the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Let's move right on to the reports, and the first one up is Ms. Norma Merriman. Now, I believe we do have the report in our booklet, but Norma, I'd like to give you that opportunity to do some highlights or tell us something that you want to do and give the council committee and members a chance to ask some questions.
Okay, you have my report, so I won't go over any of that, except I will just highlight that we have now have the Healing to Wellness Court program under Human Services effective 8/1. We have that program staffed up. The staff who were formerly in that program do have jobs, so we feel like we're headed down a good path. Very pleased with the staff. Suzanne Drywater, who has worked with the court in the past, is what we call our court advocate supervisor. So she's kind of the lead advocate, and our regular court advocate is a young man, I say young man, I shouldn't say, they seem young to me, Bodie Jimerson, who has worked in Adair County, especially around the Cherokee area, worked with a lot of youth, has had background, and he started yesterday. So we think we have a really good group and look forward to really...
Marilyn, I have a question here.
Yes.
A lot of folks may not be familiar with the Wellness Court. Can you tell us kind of how take us through a child going into the Wellness Court, take us through that process?
Okay, I'll just try to hit the highlights because it could get a little involved, but this is primarily for youth who have become involved with the court due to activities related to drugs and alcohol. Or we had one that had a grand larceny charge, but there was some drug and alcohol involved, and she wound up in it. But primarily it's anyone who's engaged in that kind of activity. It is an option of sentencing, and it comes through our court. Judge Fight is the judge who is I might say, very dedicated to this program. So we try to do more intensive work with these young people. We have counseling for them. We have staff that works with them very closely. We do random drug tests, and they have to check in with staff on a regular basis. Usually each one has a different case plan, and then we meet with them at a minimum of every 2 weeks in what we call the court, but it's much different than the court that you would know about. There is a team that are primarily volunteers, but most of them are professionals and very dedicated to working with these children. And the child, in a situation somewhat like what we're sitting in, the youth and their parent, if they have one that is involved with them, comes, and the judge and the team talk with them about their progress. We had like 4 dirty UAs last Thursday night. So we evaluate that and make recommendations for them to do, whether that's community service. We have a couple that we're going to recommend that go to Jack Brown, the Jack Brown program, and then increase their counseling. So it varies from individual youth to individual youth. With the program, since it's come to Human Services, we're realigning it more like a human service program. So we'll be doing more intensive case management. We'll be stepping up, probably increasing the number of UAs, trying to partner more with the Marshal Service to help us, because you have to travel a lot with these kids, and this budget is smaller than it was. It was operating on a grant. The grant ceased, and Chief wanted to continue the support of this program. We couldn't do it at the level of the grant, so we are going to have to be good stewards of our funds. But we do cultural activities. There's a big cultural component that is involved. It's a very, very interesting process, and we've seen some really good process with some of the kids, some of them not. But there's always some interesting situation with those youth.
What's our funding level?
Funding level is just over $200,000. It came down about $100,000. The grant that they operated on for 3 years is a little over $300,000. So, but we feel like we can do it. We're going to have to really be more cautious with how we do things, partner with more people. More people are going to have to be trained to go collect the UAs, because we're serving Adair and Cherokee counties, and you can burn up a lot of gas. And by the time we redid those budgets, gas has gone up. You all understand all that. So I am very, very excited about the program and good staff. So.
Thank you.
Some other things that you might be of interest and we're excited about is we are adding another advocate position. It's not adding, it's filling a vacancy in Tahlequah, and we also have a emergency hire, temporary full-time in Stillwater. Hope that both of those start a couple weeks to 3 weeks. We're in that process with HR, so we can't say absolutely, but that will help us tremendously in some areas where we've been shorthanded. We also, Jerry tells me, just received the panel for the Bartlesville area. We're moving one of the positions that we had in the prior area up into that area because we had to, we had a traveling office up there anyway, but we feel now we need to move someone up there a little more permanently. So we hope that we have a good panel and we can be hiring that one in the near future. Any questions?
Yes, Norma, I believe, give us a quick update on the school voucher program, how that ran, and
Sure.
what was the overall assessment of the stage people that handled it this year?
Actually, we haven't met with them yet because we really won't be able to reconcile this until October. Our vouchers are valid until September the 15th, and then the billing comes from their main office, which is in Texas. Not that really means distance doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? But the billing will come in after that, so we think some of the reconciliation will happen at that time. Right now, our unvalidated count is that we did 3,600, and I think it's now 10 or 11 vouchers, and that's about 900 more than we did last year. We were extremely busy. People were lining up at 6:30 in the morning. There's not a thing we can do about that, folks. That's choices that people make. We send out the times. We started at 10. We ended at 7. We did not start signing people in until 10 because I can tell you if you start doing that before 10, somebody's going to be angry because you advertised 10 o'clock. And if you start signing them up before...
Did
yes.
you have any problems with, and I don't know if these are problems for you or not, but people from other towns or districts coming over to...
We don't consider that a problem.
You don't
We
do that problem.
we
It's
just
part
take
of the-
them.
part of the
Yeah, you can't turn people back. Now, why they want to drive further, I don't know. I think it's kind of like that frenzy of people think you're going to run out.
Yeah.
But we tried when people called to let them know that we were going to be all right. And it was really better to come like in the afternoon because the big crush is in the morning. But I will tell you that from my end, it was a whole different ballgame. I literally had maybe 2 complaints that came to me. I was up in administration about something else, and Melanie said, "I've heard nothing on the school vouchers." She said, in years past, I got calls. Of course, people don't call when they're happy. So she had heard nothing. So I don't know what you all have heard, but the stage people have been very happy. The ones we've talked to, haven't talked to all of them. But I think people have been very surprised at how much clothing that they could get if they shopped correctly. And I can tell you that the stage people went above and beyond. I know here in Telequan, I think this is true throughout, if people were like at $73, they'd break open a package of underwear or socks and let them have one to bring it up to the 75 so they get the full benefit.
Ms. Fishman.
Norma, I want to say thank you for how great you handled the ones in Adair County. As you know, I went down there a couple of times
Yes.
during the day.
Yes.
And I seen people in a cool environment. They was all sitting there. The kids was playing. There was a lot of help there. And my people just did not have a single complaint to say, believe it or not.
Right. We didn't have that in every place. We tried to get bigger venues. It didn't happen in some places. We'll try harder next year. We found out that the Sequoia Gym is not a good venue. We had kids bouncing off the wall and really, but the second time we had, the second event, we kind of altered that and probably came up with a better situation. We're going to have to find a better place in Salina. We went to a bigger place, but it still didn't work. So, we learn every year, but I really am very pleased with how this has gone this year. And if stage is pleased and you all are pleased and everybody's happy, we'll probably continue this. I think we'll know more as we do the reconciliation to see how we've done. And but we just didn't have a lot of the problems that we had last year. With
Ms. Jordan.
Norma, I also want to commend you. I know the first day that we had it here, Bill John and I received a couple of calls, and we talked to you, and you just got right on it and put more people out there, and it went so much quicker. And I think they had just hit at a time when you had some of your folks going to lunch.
Right.
Which you got to let them eat.
exactly.
But you were very prompt in making sure that there was enough people out there to take care of the number of people that were coming in for the vouchers. The one thing that we did here, and of course here at Tahlequah we might have more alternatives than some of the smaller towns, but we had some folks that said, would you consider asking your group if there's a possibility that maybe we could include a wider number of stores next year.
I've had that call, and I probably know who you're talking about. I had a merchant call me upset because they hadn't been included. This is what we get into, and I'm not going to say we can't do it because anything's possible. But what I told him is that it's for the thousands of people that we cover throughout a very large area, we really need one vendor because we write one check. And he said, well, that's not fair. You need to let them just take it to anywhere. Well, can you imagine?
Yeah, I don't know that we can take it anywhere,
Right.
but if we could
Right.
consider maybe, we're learning on this program every
We
year
are.
that we do it. And if we start doing some planning now, we might be able. I know Sharps and
And we had looked at some others. This particular person had one store.
Yeah,
And
I'm not sure how, but there might be the possibility that we could accommodate. It might involve us writing more checks. Some people have even asked, could we put Walmart back on the list? And I know I know our encounter with them wasn't positive, but we might want to look at widening the loop just a little bit to see if we could include more vendors and take a look at it this year. And I'm just throwing that out there.
Honestly,
as a
that's really a
possibility.
Cali question, since I don't do that end of it. So
Maybe we could get Callie here
Sure.
next time where we could possibly talk about it. And we've got a year here to plan.
Right.
It's such a great program. I mean, we've went up 900 people
Yeah.
in 1 year. This is a program that is widely accepted throughout the 14 counties. I watched the numbers as they came in, and everywhere you guys were going, people were showing up. This is a really popular popular
Oh, yeah.
program. It's the one thing that we can do for our people that they enjoy an immediate gratification to it.
Right.
And a lot of folks, they can't look the long term, they want the immediate. And I know I had to take my granddaughter shopping, and if they don't have that, if they're not like every other kid when they start school, there's just something happens to them. We've got to make sure our Indian children have the same things that everybody else's kid has when they start school. And this program is accomplishing that. And to me, that starts them off with the year right. It starts them off confident when they walk in that door. And it's worth $75 to have our kids be confident when they start that first day of school that this is going to be a good year. This is going to be the year I'm going to make all A's. This is going to be the year I'm going to be in all the athletic events. And it all started, why? Because we put a new set of clothes on them when they walked in that door. That just makes all the difference in the world.
Right.
My mother taught for 35 years, and that was the one thing she said.
She taught me.
Yes, that's one thing that she said is you can really tell those kids that start off confident, start off that first day, will do so much better during the year. If they come in and they didn't have anything to wear except what they wore all summer that's already got holes in it and it's already too little, they started off bad then. It's a confidence builder. And I just hope that we can continue the program and widen the loop and maybe be a little more inclusive if that's a possibility.
I do want to mention the staff worked very, very hard.
And I got a lot of compliments that the staff was very nice. And I think in a stressful venue like that, we have to go well beyond, and because there's going to be some that are going to be somewhat sensitive when they come up to us, and your staff was able to handle that.
Well, and I also want to thank registration, because this year we teamed with registration. They were there with us. They could do those checks, about their status, and it made a great deal. They saw those people first, and then when they came over to the other staff, we knew that they were okay to go.
Norma, there's one comment that I want to make, and I don't know that you can help or rectify this, but I did have I guess it was a complaint that this person was there for 2 hours, and then once he got up to the intake person, but he was over income.
Right.
I'm wondering why couldn't we post those incomes at the door when those people come up there, and then if they go look and they immediately know that they're over income and they'll sit there for 2 hours.
Well, and I've told my staff, and they're not happy with me, but I just told them we were going to do it. I said, we're going to post those things all over the place. Now, we did that when we first started, and it was a train wreck, because we found so many people that fudged, if you know that term, and did a lot of things, and it was difficult on the staff.
Yeah.
It's also difficult to not, what we do, this is what we do. We say, we will tell you for your family, but we're not going to go down the litany. Well, you get people say, well, my cousin has this many. Well, what you wind up doing, it takes a lot of time. So I said, we're going to do it, and we may have a lot of fraudulent folks that get the vouchers.
Yeah, and
you just have to decide what.
And I realize what you're saying, but it may save some people a lot of time if they
It will.
look and they're honest and just go home and say,
Right.
I'm over income.
Right.
I'll take one more question. Ms. Fishinghoff, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question about that. There was some confusion in Stillwell, and I'm sure this will apply to some of your other programs, about what income to use. Some people brought down their income taxes. They were told, this is 6 months old, 7 months old, can't you bring something more, something newer, more up to date? Some of them brought down check stubs. And then there was some debate over kids being claimed on their income tax and having different last names than the parent, and that got totally
It's very complicated. I can't tell you all what it's like to deal with this and try to do it in a few minutes, because you have hundreds of people in line. And so you have different personalities, and you tell them you can take a tax return. Check stub, a recent check stub is the best. But Some people that are self-employed have to bring some kind of a statement. That, you know, with self-employed, we usually take the tax return. So I'm sure there's people that, you know, look at that particular situation and it doesn't seem quite right, you know, and so they try to probe a little further. But if everything seems kosher, they're going to take one of those two things. But they are trained to look for things that don't look quite right and question that, which they should do.
Mr. Starn, one more question.
This kind of changes the subject. On the elder program, where the elders
Wow.
come down and thunder.
You must have a heck of a question coming.
Where they are taking trips,
Excuse me?
where the elders are taking trips.
Yes.
Fixing to take some, I think, this next month.
We have 2 trips scheduled for Branson in September.
What I would like to know, and each time that those trips are scheduled, I'd like to know what trips, who's eligible to go.
I can tell you that.
The main thing is I want a telephone number that they can contact to sign up for this trip.
Okay. Now, you need to know the trip is not for every elder.
Well, that's the reason I said it.
Yeah, the trips
Who's
are
eligible to go?
people who attend the nutrition site and people who are at senior housing. Those are who it's for, and the reason is, it's money and staff, folks. You can't take all the elders. We just can't afford to, and we don't have the staff to do
That's
that.
Cherokee Nation Nutrition Science.
Yes, yes. So, in our senior housing. If we don't get enough, and we always have to have a minimum to be able to afford to go, then we can open it up to other elders. Usually it's the friend of someone that comes to a nutrition site. As far as advertising, if you advertise it, then you're going to get kind of bombarded. But we do advertise it at the nutrition sites in the senior housing. We advertise it where
I
the
still
eligible
want the
people are.
information, and I want
That's fine.
what do they have to pay out of their pocket? Anything?
There's some that do, and usually it's returned to them. There's a deposit to make sure that they're committed. It's I think it's $25.
Okay, I'd like
And
that
then they get
information
that
also.
back.
Would you kind of put that on scenario?
Sure. We actually just sent that to
I
Councilwoman
don't think all
Fulbright.
that information was on there. I
Okay.
didn't know anything about the $25 deposit.
I think that's right, Gary.
And the
You
phone
recall
number, I
that?
don't know.
I think that's right. 25 on that trip. It probably also makes...
But I'd like that put on paper,
Okay.
please.
Okay, well, we'll give you a report on that.
I'd like to have it the next day or two.
Okay, we can do that. I've got most of that in an email that we sent, so we'll just put it in a report.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Okay. One more question, and that one's going to ask for another report. Start.
Would you also send that information to me, because I know...
I'm going to send it out to everybody.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, Norman. That's a good report.
Okay, thank you.
Next on our report is Charlie Soap with Community Services. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, everyone. David, you been behaving?
No, sir.
Dr. Joe, make sure you come in late.
Turn around, she's bad influence.
Okay, so you have my report in front of you. Any questions?
Charlie, last month it was requested that the breakdown of funds be spent on this, what has been spent over the last 3 years. Has Billy or anybody worked that up for us?
No, not at this time.
Can you get that for us for the next month? So I would like to see
Breakdown of what now?
of how much money the Cherokee Nation has put into the bridge water line in the last 3 years.
Oh.
And then I think we'd also wanted a report, and I don't know if it needs to come from the district or where, but instead of replacing that whole water line out there, that's what the recommendations were, at least we'd like to see where we need to start, or where they need to start. I'm saying we, I think we need to put where they need to start out there. So if you'd work at Dick DeGeorge, kind of see what he's doing out there. You know, I think it's probably behooved the tribe to at least take a look at that system out there, because it's probably 90 to 95% Cherokee people that live on the thing, and if the thing goes completely down, you know, then they're gonna come right back to the tribe. So if we could help to see what the problem is out there, and I do remember Mr. DeGeorge saying that they had need some in-kind dollars out there, so, you know, we might could figure
I
some
got
money
some
in.
information from Billy this morning,
Okay.
and his report is Dick is working with Steve Woodall to contract with the professional leak locator to assess the system and attempt to locate major leaks. That's number one. Number two is we continue to assist by providing equipment so that Dick can replace sections of his systems as he gets the time. And number three is these line replacements have been successful in reducing the water loss, although it is still far from the acceptable rate of 15% or less. Number four is Dick provided us a document that detailed the Indian population based on census and school enrollment data. We sent this to IHS to see it would be sufficient to verify the number of Indian meters so we could enter the project in SDS. IHS said it was not sufficient and that a survey would need to be completed of each household to verify eligibility and need. And so that's basically about where we're at on that.
Okay.
So we will be working with them, and Billy's working real close with that Bridgewater, and we'll keep you updated
Thank
on
you.
that.
Ms. Jordan, you have a question?
Could I throw in here to the water discussion that Rural Water District Number 3 here in Cherokee County had teamed with us to move the water line up through the Lowry area, and they apparently do not have sufficient funds to finish the project. And the whole reason they went up in the Lowry area was to pick up a number of Indian families. And I wonder, Charlie, could you and Billy look into that, get with Mr. Walters? I believe he's the chairperson of that district, and see what we need to do so that we can finish that project, because we've got our Indian families that can see the line, but they can't get the water. And apparently we just don't have enough money to get all the way through to the families we were trying to reach.
Okay. We'll look into it.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, if I could continue on with that,
Sure.
all right, Chairman? I see we've got the self-help housing program policies.
Yes.
And I see one of the things in here that talks about a lease, a 25-year lease. Now, we had that problem just here the other day on a 25-year lease, where unbeknownst to, I think, all of us, there was a rule that said you can't get the 25-year lease on a non-Indian's property.
That's IHS.
And I wonder if there's anything that we can do to try. I mean, occasionally we're going to have that. What happened here was we had an Indian family, but the Indian father had died. We had a non-Indian mother. I think she's Indian, but she sure looks full-blood to me. But anyway, she doesn't have a card. We had 2 houses on the property and no water. Well, in order to help her and her son, who is Indian, with his 2 children who are also Cherokee, we executed a lease thinking that would work for a 25-year period so we could get the water fixed. Well, then we found out you can't do a lease on non-Indian's land. And I'm wondering if there's any way that maybe we could look into seeing if there's a way to change that. Because more and more in our area, we're going to see that.
That's a Indian Health Service requirement.
And I realize that, but I wonder if we could check with Indian Health Service to see if we could maybe, if there was some flexibility there. It would have, what we had to do here, which I really hated to see done, was we had to put someone on her deed. Well, for an older person, this is pretty traumatic. When you start adding people to a deed, you add their problems to your situation. And as we get older, one of the things we want to make sure of is we have a place to live. We don't want to be sitting on the curb because our person that we had to put on the deed maybe enters some financial difficulties, or let's say got married and then got divorced and this became part of the marital situation. And that's why I always tell people that needs to be the last resort. That's why those 25-year leases were so good. It gave them the right to use the property, but it didn't give them the property. And it also kept the property away from their creditors, because the lease had no value to future creditors. It also had no value in a divorce situation. So if we have to start putting people's names on deeds, we're going to have additional problems of old people getting put out of their home for other future reasons. So I'm hoping that maybe there's a possibility we could persuade Indian Health Service to be a little more flexible in that area.
If I could comment a little bit on that. I think the reason they'd done that is because what was happening, there were some mobile home parks that were giving 25-year leases to some of our Indian families, and what they figured that, well, you're going in there and improving the non-Indians' land, and that's the reason the policy was set, because somebody could move in there on a 25-year lease and put a septic tank or a well or a drain field or whatever, then get up and leave in 2 years, and that non-Indian has got about $6,000 to $10,000 worth of improvements to his property. And the way they looked at it is, if we're going to do that, then we want to improve the Indian-owned properties instead of the non-Indian. There were several cases of that happening with mobile home parks. The people were given a lease for a half acre, get the Indian people moving in there, and then all of a sudden, they wanted to move off. And so what they were doing is spending between $8,000 and $10,000 on the non-Indian land, and that was the reason for that there.
Well, we actually, in my case, had 2 actual homes, real sticks and stones, mortar homes. And the thing is, the life of those improvements is only about 7 to 10 years, but we're taking a 25-year lease. So we're well past the life of our improvements that we're making on that property. So even if it went back to a non-Indian 25 years later, the improvements the useful life of those improvements is already passed. So you can't really say, in that case, if we go 25 years down the line, that we've given a non-Indian a benefit, because any improvements we made are probably going to need to be improved again.
And I think the other reason for that, we've seen a lot of cases, and Charlie can verify this, that sometimes you go in and put a septic tank, a well, and a drain field on a piece of property, and a year later those people have moved out and gone. And then, you spent $8,000 to $10,000 on that piece of property, and it's just lost. And we're here to serve the Indian folks and make sure that it's improving the Indian property. So that was part of the reason. But I think you make a good point, Ms. Jordan, about the long-term use of those properties. They're not, they're not going to last 25 years. I think the point is well made.
Well, and I agree with you on mobile homes. There probably needs to be a limitation. It probably ought to have to be a home that's fully attached to the property and will always be there, and not a mobile home that can, as we all know, it can up and roll off in a week or two's notice. But if this was something that we could pursue, I know in this particular situation, it would have been very helpful to this Cherokee, or, well, she can't prove she's Cherokee, but if I had her right here in this room, you all would all swear she's full-blood. It's just one of those things where she can't get a card. And this was one of our old mutual help homes. Actually, I think Mr. Sutherland's group built her the home, and her and her husband did all the things necessary to meet the contract, and she had produced a deed to me that showed that the home had been paid off. So it's actually one of our old mutual help homes with the same family that's been there their whole lives, raised their children there.
Charlie, if you'll look into it and give us a recommendation on things. Ms. Fishing, if you had a question.
Yes. Charlie, can you talk to me about the Cherokee Children's Mission out on Highway 100? I'd sent an email several months ago about they asked for water lines, the holes in it, they're losing like 60-70% of their water before it ever reaches them.
Actually, they're looking at that. We are in the process of assisting them, but really, there's a roads department has a project that's going to be getting underway. Probably, I would say, maybe a year before we can get to them or more, because they want to build that road before they get that water line. So That's the latest information I have on that. That's over there in Cave Springs? Yeah. Where we're at,
So tell them it might be another year.
possibly. Maybe longer.
Anyone hear that?
Charlie, thank you for the report, and we do have one more question. Okay.
Could I ask one more question?
Sure, you bet.
Now that,
We have one more question, Charlie.
now that we have these, this agreement, when will we start seeing the homes?
We put the word out today, get your equipment ready, we're ready to start.
Okay, and how many of the homes are already in line to be built?
We have one, we're pretty ready to start. Then there's 4 more that's got their applications in place, and we've done site selections, interviewed the people, and then the others we're still interviewing, make sure that the people are capable of building these homes.
And how much money do we have for these type of homes? I'm trying to figure how many people I can send to him.
I don't know right off the bat on that.
But we can, now that people have been asking about this program, so now we can say, get out there and talk to Mr. So. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Look happy, Charlie, we're moving forward.
I can just imagine the phone calls coming in and say that.
Thank you, Charlie. I think the next report is from Housing Services, David Sullivan. Good morning, David.
Good morning. You should have a report there. Just a couple of follow-up things. Just want to point out, thank Ms. Fishing Hawk for her work over in Adair County at Smith Addition. I haven't been over there, but that's going to make a big improvement.
And they said your water problem, the drainage, he said every 4 months or so, if it's okay with you all, he'll go through there and clean out the ditches for you, so y'all wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, we're just fine with that.
Okay.
But that'll help a lot. At the last committee meeting, I believe it was, I've been the one before that. It was about the Cobra thing, and asked the board to consider that. And what came out of the board meeting was the board directed us to contact a dozen folks that were affected, that didn't transfer, and to inquire of them, did they go ahead and get insurance? And if they did, the board was wanting to look at the cost, what it would have cost them through the Housing Authority had they been able to COBRA out of that, and what they're having to pay now. The board was looking at paying the difference in that. We got 2 responses back. One was they were getting on their spouse's insurance, but wasn't able to do that until October. That was the enrollment period, the first enrollment period. And the other one was just that the new employer didn't offer insurance. Wish they would have had an opportunity to have the COBRA when they left. But those were the only 2 responses we got back. As of yesterday, I think we gave a deadline, but I think the deadline's passed. But that was kind of the approach that the board took, was if we can, they were going to have to pay this amount, whatever that was, through COBRA. If they're having to pay more than that, then the board was looking at paying the difference, reimbursing them the difference.
Okay. Fishing Hawk.
I hate to bother you about another problem, but it ain't a flooding problem. I guess some of them houses might have been titled 6 houses at one time. Is that a possibility? Because these are ones that have underground water sprinkling system.
Okay.
Okay, on the corner, there's a drainage problem, and come to find out, something got knocked, crashed, crushed, and that's another place we was gonna lay some asphalt. And it's just tearing up the road, awful. And I didn't, the lady asked me about it, and I said, I don't know. I have no idea. That was before I was here. What do I need to tell her to do?
Do you have a name of the person that's in the unit?
Yes.
Okay. I'll get that from you.
Okay.
And then I can get somebody looking at that. If there's a problem with that aerobic, it's got to be taken care of real quick. The underground septic system, if it doesn't, it screws it up.
Those are aerobic over there too?
Could be. So the deal at Smith Addition, Though, when we first started building houses in there, it was kind of when the DEQ started or right after we started building them, then they started enforcing more strictly those perk tests. So there's some in there with septics and some with aerobic systems. I wish they were all aerobic systems, because they're just on the borderline there, and anytime you do that, you're going to probably eventually have problems with them. That's been our experience.
Well, they kept saying it was an underground sprinkler system, like it was to water the lawn, and that's what I assumed it was.
Yeah, I bet it's probably an aerobic system.
I will get you that name pretty quick then,
Okay.
after this meeting.
Ms. Jordan, you had a question?
David, on all the additions that we have done through the Housing Authority, and now those houses, I assume, have been assigned to Cherokee Nation, we never did, on most of them, we never did infrastructure work, like paving the road into the addition. Would you be able to identify the additions and whether there are paved roads into those additions or not? And let's start looking at what we might do about some infrastructure work.
Sure.
Because the counties will not grade those roads. They will not keep those roads up. And we've just left the people to their own devices, and we might have 20 houses and a road that, if you're not careful, you'll drop your car in a hole that you'll never get out of. And they've asked the county commissioners to assist them. Well, they won't do it because the road was not, they say, built to their specifications, so that they can then take it as a county road. And I feel like we have a duty to those individuals to help them with their road, at least to bring it up to a point where maybe we can turn it over to the county commissioner. And
You bet.
I guess what we need to do is see if you could put together a list.
We will.
I know there's numerous ones throughout Cherokee County, and I know they're throughout Adair County, Sequoia County, Delaware County, Mays County. I think it's going to affect about everybody in this room. And I think we really need to start being diligent, because I get a lot of calls, can you just get them to grade? Well, I know you guys don't have a grader or any equipment to keep a road up, but we may have to bite the bullet, try to bring them to some sort of acceptance level so that we can get these county commissioners to put them on their list to take care of from that point forward.
Be happy to put that list together.
And we might even, there might come a point where some of us have to look at using this roads money that we're receiving on spots to, if we could, what is that called, Harley?
Motor fuel tax.
Well, you chip and seal, is that what they call that? If we could chip and seal, then I feel confident the county commissioners then would take it from there, possibly. And that's a fairly cheap avenue. I understand from talking to the county commissioners that represent Cherokee County, that seems to be a fairly cheap avenue to go forth, and then they would maybe accept the road and put it in their inventory to take care of on a monthly basis. But we have some terrible roads going into our additions. We've got good houses, but they can't get to them. So,
And I think Ms. Jordan makes a good point, and the one that I know about is up out here at Park Hill. Those are big Title VI homes, David, and really nice homes, really nice looking neighborhood. And you go in there and you got big potholes and stuff going there and dust going to those houses. And my understanding is that some of the HALTA money could actually be used to put those roads in there when the housing addition starts. And I just feel like we owe it to our Indian folks to have the best type of living circumstances, infrastructure that they can get. And I'd like to see us take a look at that in future building if we build closer sites like that. It's a shame that we build a nice RR road out in front of the Park Hill system out here, and you go in and look at those 20 homes out there that are $70,000 to $100,000 homes, and they've got dirt and choke holes in front of their houses. It's a shame that our Indian folks have to live like that. When next door you've got a nice estate out there with paved roads and curb and gutter and the things, and it's just a shame that we have to let our Indian folks live like that. But what Ms. Jordan says is actually true, that we can actually use the motor fuels tax to take care of some of those things like that. And we may want to look at that as far as council members go.
we have the other, we're putting in, the county's putting in the good road out there behind Mr. Culver's house. It's gonna be an excellent road that goes right by our addition,
Yeah.
but you can't hardly get through the addition for the hose. And we have beautiful houses out there. I believe that whole addition was built by the Housing Authority. It's either Title VI or Mutual Help in there. I think there's about 30 homes and it's a circle. If we can find the funds to finish that, I think we're gonna instill a lot more pride in our folks by doing that.
Well, I can sure come up with a list.
Okay.
Any more questions for Mr. Sullivan? Anything else, David?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business, and I think we've probably pretty much covered that with Charlie's report a while ago, so we'll go on and go to new business. Before we go to new business, I've got a statement I'd like to read in for the record here. That I would like to announce to the committee that my grandson has applied for housing assistance. I have not helped or assisted in his application and not spoken to anyone on his behalf. I'll make this announcement for informational purposes only. And I want to do this to make sure that it doesn't come back to haunt me. And I think everybody on this committee that has kids or grandkids or has folks are just as eligible as the next person. So I want to read that into the minutes to make sure that I'm covered. I thank you for your time. But I want to move on to new business now. We have a resolution here. I believe Norma Merriman, is this your resolution or just Linda's resolution?
Well, we are the
Both
same,
of them.
we are one, so.
Okay.
So Linda gets to do it.
You want to come up and explain just a little bit about it, Linda, then we'll take a vote on it?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, this resolution is regarding our transitional living program. It is to renew a 5-year grant program to continue providing transitional living service to older homeless young adults, including those who have aged out of the state system and the Indian Child Welfare Custody system. And the goal of the program is to assist them by providing them with the necessary skills and resources to help them live independently on their own. And it is in the amount of $150,000 yearly. There is a 10% match, and we are proposing that as in kind in the grant application.
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, the motion is made and second. All in favor say aye.
Question.
Hang on just a second here. Take your vote back. Yes, Ms. Jordan.
It's a renewal grant, and can you tell me a little bit about how it works?
Okay, they have to definitely be eligible as homeless, and that could mean little or no resources. And often they are aging out of the system, or they have aged out, and they're just having a difficult time of maintaining their home. And the program provides those skills to help them be able to flourish more in a safe and stable environment. So we do help out with education, employment. The program has some flexibility in that it can help with fees for education. It can help out somewhat with tuition. It does help with housing, deposits, and it can assist up to 18 months. However, with our program, we're proposing about a year for that.
And how many young people are presently do we have in this program?
The maximum that we can have is about 10, and right now I think we're bordering at that. We have 3 mothers with their infants and an expectant mother, soon to deliver, and we have about 2 males in this program, and they all range in the age of 18 to 21. And we're seeing an increase in single moms being referred to the program, and that was something that we had expected, so we definitely see the need in continuing this program, and we definitely hope it does get funded. Any more?
Okay, I know we jumped the gun on voting, but I'd like to take the vote again. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Announcement, the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for September the 16th at 9 a.m. and that concludes that. And now, is there any announcements to be made? If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank everybody for coming.